they gave that an F, and you give Resurrection a B plus. I don't know what's going on there. Who's doing these scorings? But that's insane. Is there anything that you... Obviously, you said that the premise could have worked had it been envisioned a little differently, but is there anything that you actually liked about this one? Or that you can appreciate?
Man. I mean, like I said, that first 20 minutes, that little side story, I liked. It wasn't bad. I mean, it has it's not great, but it's definitely way better than... It literally feels like a different movie from the rest of it. But, I mean, you gotta give it up to Busta. Like, he's fucking hilarious. And I don't know if he was trying to be serious or he was trying to be a little bit of both, funny and serious, but I think that is probably the only thing I enjoyed is him.
Yeah, because he brings like this, and again, I don't know if it was intentional, but his performance makes the film like you could look at it from a campy nature. Like it brings like this camp to this aesthetic to it. His performance alone, where you're like, okay, like I can enjoy this from like a wonky perspective, you know, like it's just like a silly time or whatever. So yeah, watching it, I completely agree with you. Like he's the reason why you would sit through it, I think.
Yeah, he's most definitely the reason why it made so much money.
Yep.
What about you? What's your one big the one thing you can find?
Considering, okay, talking about going back to H2O, there was obviously some really, like, they were having trouble with the masks because his mask is constantly changing. And at one point, I don't know if you noticed, but when he attacks that kid, because you watched it recently, he attacks like one of Josh's friends, when they're having that little private party thing when everyone's left, and he like Michael confronts him in the kitchen while he's looking for like a corkscrew or something, and he turns around and he goes, "Hey!" and there's a reflection of Michael in his eye, and then they cut to a shot of Michael staring at him, and it's clearly like a CGI mask. They fucked up that moment in that movie. But my point of bringing that up is that they had some clear issues with the masks in the past, and I felt like the sculpt for Resurrection was pretty rad. Even though they kind of gave him these really defined eyebrows that are a little distracting.
Yeah, his eyebrows were fierce.
Yeah. But other than that, yeah, the sculpt for the mask is pretty good. Although, like I said, I don't understand why they never like tried to tatter it up or anything, or it just was like, how do you fuck up the aesthetic of Michael Myers? You know what I mean? And that's what I always loved about Rob Zombie's vision, because he was the first to really give us this gritty, like grimy Myers, you know, the way that if somebody were to do this in the streets, like in real life, that's how they would be, because they don't talk, they don't, you know what I mean, they're like a scavenger, you know what I mean, like they're not.
Yeah, no, I get what you're gonna say. I gotta hear these swan facts that you have.
Okay, all right. Thank you for asking. All right, so you're gonna get a kick out of this if you don't already know it. The movie's trailer was actually featured and debuted during the theatrical run of Jason X.
What?
Which is another shitty movie.
I did not know that. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I think they came out like in the same year. Like Jason X came out in May, and then this came out that following July, a couple months later. So it's like this resurgence of like shitty attempts at classic horror. I don't know. Are you a fan of Jason X?
It's okay. Like I think it's better than this.
True, because the kills and the aesthetic, I feel like there's just something about it that it's more meta. That you know what you're expecting when Jason is going into space. You know, similar to like Leprechaun in space. Like it's not going to be grounded whatsoever. So you're up for whatever, you know. But a Halloween trying to do that is just kind of like, what, you know? Like, this is supposed to be the guy that we take seriously, and I think that's why this one kind of failed.
It's funny that you mentioned Jason X, because with like doing all my like reading and research for the movie, my favorite like I don't know if you saw this, but my favorite review of the movie is from someone from the New York Post who said it's so devoid of joy and energy, it makes even Jason X look positively Shakespearean by comparison.
Oh, man. This is sure to give you a laugh, too. Jamie Lee Curtis and John Carpenter both have openly stated that they really, really dislike Halloween Resurrection.
Yeah, that's...
I think John Carpenter even went as far as to say that he hasn't even bothered with most of the sequels, watching them, but that he, like, for some reason watched Resurrection and he was just like, oh God, oh Lord. Like, what's going... He was like that one with the cameras in the house, or... And then Jamie, she said she only did it because she was binded by a contract where that she really wanted to do H2O, but in order to do that one that she was passionate about, she had to agree to come back for what would be this one. But she was really bummed about how they did her character dirty, similar to what they did to Jamie Strode or Danielle Harris's character in Curse of Michael Myers, which would be Halloween 6, which is why. So Jamie comes back with her baby in the beginning of the film, but it's noticeably not Danielle Harris, and that's because she said no, because she thought that was a shitty way for her character to go out after surviving 2 sequels, you know. He throws her on some like fucked up, I don't know, barn equipment and like grinds her fucking insides. So yeah, she didn't want to come back for that, and neither did Jamie Lee Curtis. But a contract's a contract, I suppose. But what's rad is that she ultimately was able to retcon all that bullshit and come back and do it right, and that's what that's the time we're getting to live in right now, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yes.
There was actually an alternative opening to Resurrection, which would have shown some home movies involving Michael, but I guess this was cut during editing for fear of humanizing the shape too much.
Huh.
Similar to, of course, when Resurrection was being filmed and everything, we hadn't gotten the Rob Zombie's first remake, so we never saw kind of why Michael Myers became the way he was, really, you know what I mean? It was always just kind of glossed over, that part, until Rob Zombie came along. And then, so it's interesting to know that somebody had that, that idea to do something like that first. So the film that could have followed this one would have saw the return of Josh Hartnett's character as Laurie's son, who would have potentially faced off with Michael to revenge his mom. This idea was obviously scrapped for what would be Rob Zombie's remake later on. Any thoughts on that?
That would have been, I mean, I like Josh Hartnett. I mean, you can't get any worse than fucking Resurrections.
What they should have done is, like, kept the intro to Resurrection and then done the Josh Hartnett story within that. Like, have that be Halloween Resurrection. You know, where it's like, that would have made sense. He was still fresh on the scene. It would have been like a cool kind of revenge tale, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially because he's such a little shithead, where he's like, remember when he's talking shit to Laurie in the kitchen, and he's like, you want to stay handcuffed to your dead brother, go ahead, but you're not dragging me along with you.
He plays the angsty teen very well.
Yes. That's for sure. There's actually like a rare comic book spin-off that acts as a sequel to Resurrection out there.
Oh, shit, really?
Yeah. I guess none of the characters return. It kind of, for some reason, it's like Donald Pleasance was Loomis's character, Loomis's son, comes back and starts like trying to find Michael or whatever. But I guess they mention the death of Laurie in the sanitarium, so it's definitely in the timeline of the first canon, which is interesting. But I guess it's like super hard to find and pretty pricey online right now.
Very good Swan facts, because I didn't know that.
No?
No.
Okay, so this was the only movie in this entire franchise to be released in the summertime so far.
Really? Shit.
Honestly, I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, it worked because it still made money somehow. But why would you release this in July? That's like...
I bet to see like maybe the calendar for that October. Maybe no, because it's a Halloween. Like, people are gonna show up anyway.
I think it was okay. Let me. I know at least two movies. It opened up against Reign of Fire, that fucking dragon movie with Matthew McConaughey and Christian Bale, and Road to Perdition, and a bunch of.
I think did it? Oh, what? No, fuck. I know. Wasn't it Men in Black 2?
Yes. You're correct. That's what it opened up against. So I mean, virtually, it had no. For its genre, it had no, because Jason X had already been out. It had no real competition, and in some ways, I'm sure Jason X amped up us as genre fans to be like, oh shit, like another slasher is coming out in this small proximity of time. Like, it was probably unheard of. Like, I remember seeing a TV spot for Jason X specifically, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, Jason is going to space? This is nuts. I think it was during like Monday Night Raw or something. I have two more for you. So the director, Rick Rosenthal, makes a cameo as the professor at Haddonfield University in the early in the film. So when
okay.
Yeah, that's him when he's talking, and like what's her name, Sarah's like daydreaming or whatever, and then he asks her that question, and she's like, oh yeah, the shadow person or whatever she responds, like, but that's him. The guy who let us all down. Speaking of her, Bianca